Women obviously have a higher capacity for empathy
Yes.
than men. But that empathy can be manipulated into giving empathy for people who don't deserve it. And that's a problem. And they can be manipulated into doing things that are not in their best interest. And that's why, Greg, I want our audience to consider amending the 19th Amendment.
Really?
Now I'm not saying, no, whoa, women, I'm not saying I don't want you to vote. I'm just saying not for the important stuff.
Yeah.
No, but let me hear me out. No. You can still vote. No. There's plenty of ladies. There's plenty of things for you to still vote for. America's Got Talent, Dancing with the Stars, the school board, Employee of the Month at Whole Foods. There's plenty for you to still get excited about and vote. I'm just saying for the big stuff, leave it to the less suicidal, empathetic humans, men.
You know, this is exactly why I have a soft spot and a certain love for comedians, because they are able to get away with saying things that the average person in America thinks, right? You know, the people at the top, where there is people who actually vote and people who actually understand politics and where this country is right now. Even though it's the greatest country in the world, it's still a shit show here in a clown world because we're so inclusive for everybody's feelings and we care about people's feelings instead of what's actually real. But if you actually look at it, you know, giving women the right to vote was where that all started. And when you actually look at the logical argument for this, there's a reason why, you know, looking at the, 19th Amendment wouldn't be a bad idea. You take a look at all the progressive policies that have been passed, or the progressive policies that people normally vote for. Who are the people in majority of people who vote for those, policies? They are women. You're talking about things like abortion, right? Where it's literally ridding people of the consequence of sleeping with other people, unprotected sex, right? And now they have a baby in their stomach, and now they want to basically just murder that baby because they don't want to face the consequences of their actions. You take a look at something else like illegal immigration. Who are the people out there saying, oh, they're making the argument, the emotional argument of, you're ripping these families apart. You're sending these people back to the dungeon. Well, guess what? Those people should not have been here in the first place. And in fact, if they would have actually taken the time to get an immigration lawyer and to actually come to this country legally and not illegally, they probably would not have gotten deported. But like I said, feels instead of reals. I'm just saying. And the nail in the coffin really is, and you can do this experiment out there if you want. Go ask your average woman, if you see a woman walking around, or even maybe your sister or cousin, go ask them, what's a selective service? Promise you they won't know what that is. But every single man knows what that is. And that is the reason why I think we should genuinely take a look at their 19th Amendment. I'm just saying. But hey, he's right. He is absolutely right.
Sacrifices that come along with this life.
Our kids are little. We're going to have to move.
There are also...
This is a great video. This shows you the contrast between the perpetual victims that the left are, where they see oppression in everything. You'll see it here, the way Michelle Obama lives one of the most privileged lives you can imagine. And watch the way she looks at it.
So a lot of good things.
It's expensive to live in the White House.
What a blessing it is to be here.
There were moments when I didn't feel like I got enough attention.
We live in this beautiful, very protected mansion that the American people have gifted us.
Many people don't know. I mean, much is not covered.
Most of our meals are prepared for us. So we don't have to worry as much about cooking.
You're paying for every food, every bit of food that you eat.
There are a lot of things that in some ways make having a baby easier.
How do you raise kids in the White House? It's dangerous.
You don't have to worry about TSA lines when you're the vice president. Air Force Two makes transportation pretty easy.
We had to pay for their travel to be on the plane.
My attitude towards kids,
they're a hassle.
What the hell have we gotten ourselves into? No more kids.
They mess you up.
Then we had a second, then we had a third, and now both of us are just like, what's one more?
Whatever.
Yeah, that says a lot between the ideologies or the tendencies, what people on the left believe and how they live life and how they think of their circumstances in comparison to people who are Republicans or conservative who just get on with life and accept the harsh realities that come with being a certain position, i.e. J.D. Vance being the vice president and, Michelle Obama being the first lady. As you can clearly see in the video, listen, this video was heavily edited, right? But as you can see, they're pretty much being asked the same questions, similar questions, and one person is just taking it on the chin, taking accountability, understanding like, like I'm these, one of the top 5 most powerful people in the world, basically, right? Because the United States is a world power. We have the hegemony, right? Especially in the West. and the other person just complaining about their role and saying things are expensive and this and that. Meanwhile, everything is being prepared for them. They live in a pretty cool house, don't have to worry about anything, and they get the best health care and they get that for life, by the way, and they're protected by the Secret Service. You see the difference in contrast between people on the left and progressives and how they think in comparison to conservatives? Yeah, that if you ever wanted to see the epitome of left versus right, how they think and the ideologies, this is a perfect video right here that analyzes this. With the left, everything is always about victimhood. Everything is always about victimhood. This is hard. My life is so great, but I always have to focus on the bad things. While on the other side, yeah, we understand that, life has its challenges. Life is going to come at you. We might kick you in the face, but you still have to stand up and be accountable and hold responsibility for your actions and the positions that you're put in.
In case. And the AGs in many states are very clear about that. They're almost jubilant about being able to use these laws to ban young people from accessing content that could be educational if they are queer. And you're a principal, you have LGBT students in your school, and we also know that they're not receiving sex education for queer kids. We know that prurient interest could be, for many people, the very existence of transgender kids. More and more people are saying there simply are no transgender kids.
And I'm one of those people. I genuinely believe that a child's sexual orientation is definitely heavily, influenced by the things that they see as a child and the things that they are told that are okay, which is why we need to get all this bullshit, transgenderism and queer stuff out of the schools. They don't need that. All a kid needs to know is that boys have wieners, women, girls have whats, and that's it. They should be more predominantly focused on learning how to read and write and do math. That's all they need to know. The only thing they need to know about sexual orientation and gender and all this stuff, sexual education, because it amazes. Why can't we just focus on the things that actually help them in real life, which is learning how to read, learning how to write, and learning how to do math? That is what is actually going to help these children when they grow older and they actually go out into the real world. When it pertains to sexual education, the only thing they need to know, males have wieners, females have whats. That's it. Everything else should be focused on things that will help them in the real world. They need to ban all this stuff out of these schools. These children don't need to be learning this, especially at an early age. Listen, I can understand, right? But at the end of the day, like, a child is supposed to know, like, the basics until they can make their own decisions, whether you think that's at 16, 18, 12, 13. But there's no reason. I mean, I would even argue, like, there's no reason for all that stuff in school, bro. Like, because biology, in my humble opinion, biology will do what biology does, right? People will be naturally attracted to whoever they're attracted to, right? If the person so happens to be attracted to another, the same sex, and they happen to be homosexual, okay, I think it's a sin, but you know what I mean? Like, they're just attracted to that, but at least they made their own decision. At least they didn't decide to cut their, what's off or transition at a young age and then regret it in the future. I don't like this whole pushing these ideologies onto these children. Let them make their own decisions once they are of age and they actually understand how the real world works. But for now, all they need to know is how to read, write, and do math, because that's what's actually going to help them in the real world when they grow older.